Hey guys, welcome. I'm not gonna say hey guys.
Hey guys.
Hey listeners. Hello, my spooky dudes and my ghouly gals, my intersex, insects, my non-binary Nosferatus. Welcome back to So Anyway It's Haunted.
Pan-dimensional listeners.
Yes.
Pan-dimensional, yep.
Pan-dimensional paranormal people.
Yeah.
It has to be some kind of like.
Pan-dimensional paranormal purple people eaters.
Purple
People eaters. Peter Piper
Yeah,
pizza.
that sounds great.
Peter Piper. No, I'm sorry.
Peter Piper pizza.
Peter Piper pizza.
Papa John. Anyways.
Papa John, that's all you have. Okay, great.
That's all our sponsors.
Yep.
Welcome.
Yes. Welcome back to So Anyway It's Haunted. I'm Ashley. Joining me are...
My name is Chris.
The artist formerly known as Monster Mag.
And guest starring myself. I'm Izzy.
Someone who's also named Chris, but we don't call you Chris.
Yeah.
We don't do that anymore.
A lot of Chris's don't go by Chris.
Because every time they run into another Chris, there's a stare down as who gets to actually be Chris.
Yeah.
Or who has to be Christopher.
It happens way too often.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, it's the sort of a dib system.
Yeah.
And once it happens, it happens. There's no
true.
going back.
That is true.
Yeah. Well, you lost in this case, I guess, because we call him Chris and we don't call you Chris.
Well, I don't know. I would say he won because he gets to be Chris.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You lost.
I think mine was a tie over from band because
Oh,
everyone called me
that's
Izzy.
right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. Anyway, welcome, Izzy.
Thank you.
Hi.
I'm happy to be here.
Cool. So are there any catch-ups we need to play? Anything spooky happen to us?
Are we going to mention the ghost episode that did not happen?
The ghost episode.
The ghost
The
episode.
lost
Yes.
episode?
Well, I didn't want to.
No.
No,
we're not.
It'll be the first Patreon award.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
There may or may not be terrible commentary added to it to make it tolerable.
Yeah,
See,
there
that's the
probably
thing.
will be.
We should take the bad recording, the lost episode,
Yeah.
and then redub over it commentary
Yeah.
like a year from now.
That would be pretty good.
Just a bunch of talking,
Yeah.
bunch of voices over each other.
That's why I was suggesting doing the video format, so that way you could put words over it,
Yeah,
and then you could just talk shit about each other.
or it could be
Wait,
like.
can I say that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you can say whatever you want. Just
Okay.
please don't be racist.
We don't swear.
I gotta go.
My mom listens to this podcast.
No, she
please.
doesn't.
Can I be deadist? Can I be bigoted against the dead? Or does that?
Yes.
I invite it.
I mean,
Whatever
Can
leads to
you be bigoted
What does
against
that
the dead?
mean?
I'm not. I figured it might happen by
It's a
accident,
ghost
and we'll
harasser.
discover it when
A
it
ghost
happens.
harasser. It's my favorite show.
So
yeah.
hopefully
well,
not.
Yeah, we'll talk about that last episode some other time, and we'll send it out on Patreon. Look out for our Patreon.
No one will want to
Yeah.
listen to it, though.
It'll be the Happy Meal tier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Happy Meal tier. Well, a 2-inch a tree roach fell on my face while I was sleeping the other night,
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
and then the cat slapped it to death.
Yeah.
So that sucked. That was 5 a.m, and then I couldn't go back to bed. So that was weird.
Yeah.
I think he's still on the floor. We kind of forgot to wipe him up.
Oh.
That's
Sorry,
fine.
buddy.
I mean, the other night I woke up at like 6 a.m. because my cat was throwing up.
Oh no! Why is she throwing up? Does she throw up often?
Yeah, she does that.
Yeah.
Usually,
Oh, not too
either she eats too fast, or
Yeah, that's what Cosmo does.
if she just I guess is mad about something, or maybe she ate a leaf she shouldn't have.
Yeah.
Bad
Aw.
leaf.
Yeah, she just
Little
tends to do
buggy?
that.
Yeah.
Little buggy boo.
I'm just glad I woke up and didn't just wake up and then step in it.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I caught it, so that was fun.
In your hand.
Ew, gross.
Yep.
She threw
Got
it
it.
directly into your hand.
No, not quite.
It's a well-trained cat.
Though there have been times where I've had to like slide something underneath her.
Yeah.
Nope,
Yeah.
nope,
Yeah.
Not on that. Not on that.
Yeah.
Right.
Chuchup tries to run away from her throw up.
Yeah.
We won't talk about cat throw up for long, but when Chuchup has to throw up, it's like she doesn't know what's happening. She'll be like, meow, and like look around, and then as she's throwing up, she's trying to run away from it. She's backing up and trying to run away from it.
Yeah.
So that's always really funny and weird.
She thinks it's her sin escaping.
Yep.
It's like the cat version of bloodletting.
Oh goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I've done wrong again.
Oh,
Cool.
goodness.
All right. Well, let's jump right into it, shall we?
Okay.
I'm ready to,
Wait, did
to
anybody else
shiver
have any
in
catch up?
fear.
You ready for what?
I was just gonna. Nobody else had a.
Does anybody else
Dirty
wanna-
laundry. You had to air out.
Dirty laundry, that's funny.
Anything spooky?
Every night, I look out the window and the forest gets closer.
Okay.
Less of a
All right.
backyard.
All right. It's
Yeah.
the witches.
It is the witches.
Yeah.
Speaking of witches, whiches of you is gonna go first?
That's bad. Cut it.
I will go first.
All right.
I have some
Do it.
spooky history, more like tragic history. So today, I was on like a kick of wanting to talk about ghost stories, or not ghost ships. I meant.
Oh, yeah.
And I really, really wanted to like research the Flying Dutchman, but as far as I can tell, the Flying Dutchman didn't really exist. Or there's no historic record of the Flying
I
Dutchman.
want you to think,
Yeah.
but yeah.
It's more like an urban legend, or I guess a legend.
Right.
It's generally just sort of an idea of ghost ships in general.
Yeah.
Just
An amalgam.
Yeah.
it's the abandoned ship must be the Flying Dutchman.
Yeah.
But
So
it's not.
I'm going to talk about the SS Valencia.
Cool.
Hey.
So the SS Valencia was a 1,598-ton vessel, 252 feet in length, and its sinking in 1906 is considered the worst maritime disaster in the graveyard of the Pacific.
The graveyard of the Pacific?
Yeah.
We're going there.
Does that include the Titanic?
No, that was in the
No,
Atlantic.
that's.
Oh no.
Hey, I'm just proving.
Izzy
that I don't
already
know.
bested you. We're only 5 minutes in.
So the graveyard of the Pacific is a famously treacherous area off the southwest coast of Vancouver Island. So the Valencia was an iron-hulled passenger steamer built as a minor ocean liner for the Red D Line, which was a large merchant link between Venezuela and New York from 1820 to 1936. She was built in 1882 by William Cramp and Sons, 1 year after the construction of her sister ship, the Caracas.
Caracas.
Clearly the cooler sister.
Yeah. That ship also sank, but it ran aground.
Oh gosh, how do you do that? I mean, it seems so simple not to do that.
Yeah, I think it might have been done intentionally because they were taking on water or something like that. But
Okay.
Yeah, so I guess if it's the choice of dying a horrible
Yeah.
death, we're just gonna
Yeah,
get stuck.
that's true. That's true.
so in 1897, the Valencia was deliberately attacked by the Spanish cruiser Reina Mercedes off Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. The cruiser fired 2 shots at the Valencia off Guantanamo Bay, and it was later revealed that the shots were fired by the Reina Mercedes in order to intimidate the Valencia into raising her colors. So in 1898, the Valencia was chartered by the United States Army for use as a troop ship in the Spanish-American War.
Wow.
What?
The Valencia could carry 606 troops and 29 officers. She was used to transport the 1st North Dakota Voluntary Infantry, the 1st Washington Voluntary Infantry, companies FGI and L, and the California Heavy Artillery Batteries A and D between San Francisco and the Philippines.
Wow.
And then after that, it went back to becoming a civil service vessel. It was not well liked among Pacific Coast passengers. It was just kind of old. It was regarded as being too small and too open to the elements, causing her to be classified as a second-class vessel. I don't really know what the classifications are in vessels, but it was not popular. Furthermore, her average speed was only 11 knots. I don't really know what the average was.
That's
at
like
that time.
super slow, I'm assuming.
I'm assuming. I don't know. During the winter season, Valencia spent most of her time sitting at her dock in San Francisco, only seeing use as a backup vessel. The Valencia was not equipped with a double bottom, and like other early iron steamers, her hull compartmentalization was primitive. So it wasn't used that often. However, in January 1906, she was temporarily diverted to the San Francisco-Seattle route to take over the SS City of Puebla, which was undergoing repairs in San Francisco. The weather in San Francisco was clear, so Valencia set off on the 20th of January at 11:20 a.m. with 9 officers, 56 crew members and at least 108 passengers aboard.
Something bad is about to happen.
Yes, it is very foreboding.
I feel it.
As she passed by the Cape Mendocino in the early morning hours of January 21st, the weather took a turn for the worse. Visibility was low and strong winds started to blow from the southeast. Unable to make celestial observations, the ship's crew was forced to rely on dead reckoning to determine their position.
Well, that's ominous.
Yeah. Out of sight of land and with strong winds and currents, the Valencia missed the entrance to the Strait of Juan de Fuca shortly before midnight on January 22nd, and she struck a reef near Pachena Point on the southwest coast of Vancouver Island.
Sad.
Yeah, this is when it gets pretty tragic. Immediately after the collision, the captain ordered her engines reversed, and as soon as she was clear of the rocks, crew members reported a large gash in the hull into which water was pouring rapidly. And because of her primitive design, it sort of exacerbated things. To prevent her from sinking, the captain ordered her run aground, and she was driven into rocks again.
Oh my gosh.
She was left stranded in sight of the shore, separated from it by 50 meters of heavy surf. In the ensuing confusion, all but one of the ship's 7 lifeboats were lowered into the water against the captain's orders.
Oh no.
All of them improperly manned.
Dude.
3 were flipped while being lowered,
Oh my gosh.
spilling their occupants into the ocean.
Oh my gosh, dude.
Of the 3 that were successfully launched, 2 capsized and 1 disappeared. The scene at the wreck was horrific, and as one of the few survivors, Chief Freight Clerk Frank Lane recounted, the wreck of Valencia seen from this is the wreck of the Valencia seen from one of the rescuing ships. Screams of women and children mingled in an awful chorus with the shrieking of the wind, the dash of rain, and the roar of the breakers.
Oh my gosh.
As the passengers rushed on deck, they were carried away in bunches by the huge waves that seemed as high as the ship's mastheads. The ship began to break up almost at once, and the women and children were lashing to the rigging above the reach of the sea. It was a pitiful sight to see frail women wearing only night dresses with bare feet on the freezing rat lines, trying to shield their children in the arms from the icy wind and rain.
Oh, Lord.
So only 12 men made it to shore, and of those, 3 were washed away by waves after landing.
Oh my gosh, that's horrible.
The remaining 9 men scaled the cliffs and found a telegraph line strung between the trees. They followed the line through the thick forest until they came upon a lineman's cabin, from which they were able to summon help. These 9 men, who became known as the Bunker Party after the survivor Frank Bunker, eventually received much criticism for not attempting to reach the top of the nearby cliff, where they might have received and made fast the cable fired from the Lyle gun on board the Valencia.
What are those words?
So I guess they could have gone to a nearby cliff, and if they were, I guess, able to fire the Lyle gun, they might have been...
What's a Lyle gun?
It's probably got like a cable on it, and it's just to, I guess, launch it to from the boat. So they could have tied the boat up, I guess, and kept it from getting worse, I guess.
Okay.
Meanwhile, the ship's boatswain and a crew of volunteers had been lowered into the last remaining lifeboat, with instructions to find a safe landing place and return to the cliffs to receive a lifeline from the ship.
I want to say no duh. Get there safely.
Yeah. Upon landing, they discovered a trail and a sign reading 3 miles to Cape Beale. Abandoning the original plan, they decided to head toward the lighthouse on the cape, where they arrived after 2.5 hours of hiking.
Oh my gosh.
The lighthouse keeper phoned Bamfield to report the wreck, but the news had already arrived and been passed on to Victoria. This last group of survivors was well nigh crazed by their last sight of the remaining stranded passengers. Once word of the disaster was out, 3 ships were dispatched for rescue efforts. However, rescue efforts were slowed because they were unable to approach due to the severity of the weather and the lack of depth charts in that area. So seeing that it wouldn't be possible to approach from the sea, the Salvor and the Tsar set off to Bamfield to arrange an overland rescue party. let's see. Upon seeing Queen, which is the third ship, Valencia's crew launched the ship's 2 remaining life rafts, but the majority of the passengers decided to remain on the ship, presumably believing that a rescue party would soon arrive.
Oh, wow.
Approximately 1 hour later, the city of Topeka arrived, and like Queen, was unable to approach the wreck. Topeka cruised the waters off the coast for several hours searching for survivors. I think it's weird that they named a ship the City of Topeka.
Yeah, I guess that was like a naming convention.
Yeah.
Instead of just saying, oh, this is the Topeka, it's the City of Topeka.
Yeah.
It's like we don't want to confuse it with... like, I guess the Topeka might have already been taken.
I guess so.
Yeah. The City of Topeka _1.
Yeah.
Taken by the sea.
So they cruised the waters off the coast for several hours searching for survivors and eventually came upon one of the life rafts carrying 18 men. But no other survivors were found. And at dark, the captain of the City of Topeka called off the search.
Wow.
That's rough.
The second life raft eventually drifted ashore on an island in Barkley Sound, where the 4 survivors were found by the island's First Nations and taken to a village near Euclid?
I have no idea how you say that.
Okay.
Ukulele, maybe?
Ukulele.
I mean, I guess it could be like French if they're in the Canadian area.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So when the overland party arrived at the cliffs above the site of the wreck, they found dozens of passengers clinging to the rigging and the few unsubmerged parts of the Valencia's hull. Not long afterwards, the ship's lone funnel collapsed. With the funnel being the last full means of protection to anyone on board, the waves were now able to completely wash over Valencia's deck, leaving all at the mercy of the waves. And without any remaining lifelines, however, they could not do anything to help the survivors. And within hours, a large wave washed the wreckage off the rocks and into the ocean, and every remaining passenger drowned.
That's horrible. That's literally a nightmare.
Yeah, from the sounds of it, it sounds like they took a garbage ship.
Yeah.
And then just completely screwed the pooch every step of the way.
Yeah. I think in the follow-up investigations as to what happened, the sort of ruling was that it was a series of bad occurrences and not necessarily you couldn't
Anyone's
fault
decision.
anyone specifically, but
Yeah.
everyone was kind of already crazed and like made bad decisions.
Yeah. I just can't believe like the Titanic was a disaster and a tragedy and horrible, but it's like this is also horrible. I know there weren't as many people on the ship, but like why isn't this more well known, I guess?
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of like horrible shipwrecks.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking too. Is like no matter what the shipwreck, it's gonna be tragic and horrible.
Yeah. And I think this specific coastline is, I think, attributed to like 12 or 13 sort of shipwrecks.
Wow.
But this is by far the worst.
Yeah.
So estimates of how many people died in the sinking vary. Some sources list that 117 people were killed, while others claim that the number of fatalities was as high as 181. According to the federal report, the official death toll was 136 persons. Only 37 men survived, and every woman and child on Valencia died in the disaster.
Wow. Isn't okay, I don't want to be like that guy, but
I always
all
heard
of the dudes that survived, could you not have saved a kid or a lady?
I think they said that the surf was super bad, so I mean, it's like, okay, you're safe on the boat right now.
Yeah, I was talking about the guy swim back.
Okay,
I just imagined as unfair to assume it as it is. They probably just were able to swim.
Okay.
I don't know.
They're just like, stay here. We'll go get help.
Yeah, I mean, presumably, I guess they expected, we'll go get help, and then ships will pull right up next to it.
Yeah.
All of the ladies and children could just, walk over. As opposed to just being like, we're going to send you out in the tiny boat. Because, I mean, they lost, did you say like three or four boats?
6 of the 7 boats or whatever?
Yeah, like the majority of the boats were lost.
Yeah.
That were launched.
True.
So it was like you could stay on the big boat
And not immediately die.
Yeah.
Or go on the little boat and probably most likely die.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, in 1933, 27 years after the disaster, Valencia's lifeboat number 5 was found floating in Berkeley Sound. Remarkably, it was in good condition, with much of the original paint remaining. The boat's nameplate is now on display in the Maritime Museum of British Columbia.
How long ago, or how long after the wreck?
27 years.
Wow, are you serious?
Yeah.
That's the spookiest thing about ghost ships, is a lot of times they'll find them just floating along, like undamaged.
There's a lot of good ghost ship stories.
Really?
Yeah, but none of them are like haunted ghost ships. They're just like really good. Like
they're just
what happened to these people.
Yeah, it's just really spooky. It's like like most of the time you'd think, I guess they all abandon ship for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But the ship when it's found is still perfectly fine.
Yeah. That's insane.
Yeah, it's especially good when they find like logs or like even in some cases audio logs of like people on board like dictating what's happening, and they're just like weird and cryptic.
Yeah.
The strangeness of the sea.
Yeah. Yes. So to this day, there's still wreckage on Vancouver Island, although it is now part of the Pacific Rim National Park Reserve.
It's a good movie.
And is only reachable by experienced hikers. Okay. So now I've got some spookies.
Spooky time.
Oh goodness.
So when transporting the survivors of Valencia to Seattle, the city of Topeka stopped in the water to relay the news of Valencia's foundering to a passing vessel.
I'm sorry, did they just yell back and forth to each other?
I'm not quite sure.
The radios back then probably weren't the best. So it could have been, in order to do like a decent message, or it could have been they were just using the like lights and flags and stuff.
That's true.
Some observers on board claimed that as the exhaust from the city of Topeka settled over the still waters, they could clearly make out the ghostly shape of the Valencia one last time.
Oh goodness.
They weren't in shock.
Yeah.
It was a ghost.
The ghost ship was haunting the Topeka for failing to save it.
Oh no! Yeah.
The ghost ship grudge.
It actually goes and haunts the city itself of Topeka.
Why is there a ghost ship in the harbor? But there is no harbor. What?
It's a landlocked city. So 6 months after the sinking, local Native Americans claimed to have seen a lifeboat with 8 skeletons in a nearby sea cave at the shoreline of Pachena Bay. The mouth of the cave was obstructed by a large boulder, and the cave was reported to be about 200 feet deep. There was no definite explanation for the lifeboat's presence in the cave, but it was believed that high tide had lifted the boat into the cave's mouth. But due to the dangerous seas outside the cave's mouth, the lifeboat, along with its human remains, were never able to be recovered. So it's kind of like it might have been there, but also like there's no way to verify it at the time. So also several local fishermen claim to have seen the Valencia lifeboats, but with skeletons in them. But in their stories, the skeletons are rowing the boat out in open waters.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. Someone's been drinking.
Yeah. And
so much opium.
True.
All that fisherman opium.
Yeah. Fresh from the Orient.
So there have been several sightings of the Phantom ship, but in 1910, the Seattle Times reported that sailors claimed to have seen a phantom ship resembling Valencia near Pachena Point. The sailors observed waves washing over the Phantom steamer as human figures held onto the ship's rigging for dear life.
Wow.
Yeah. And that is it.
That's spooky, man.
I guess it's good that it wasn't a Beetlejuice-esque party on the boat.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Well, no, just as in the dead were having a weird, strange celebration. Celebrating their undeath.
Yeah.
That would have been much worse.
What the Native Americans left out of the story is that they watched those fishermen eat those men. And they decided best just to note the skeletons that they saw.
Or worse, the skeletons were eating fishermen.
That's it. Wow, that was spooky.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are lots of spooky ghost ship things.
Yeah, there are lots of abandoned ship, like, sort of creepy vibes. It's very similar to, like, Bermuda Triangle.
Yeah.
But I don't think, not all of them happen in the Bermuda Triangle. It's just like they need to abandon ship for whatever reason, and then they die at sea. And then you have no idea why they left the ship.
Right.
So many people are not using money for the right reasons. If I was a rich philanthropist, we would just be flying over the sea and looking for these ghost ships.
Yeah.
That's true.
There's also, I was looking up, it's not haunted, but there was another ship that was, it was up in the northern part of Canada, I believe, and it just got, like, trapped in some ice. So, like, all the crew made it out alive. They, like, walked to the nearest city or settlement or whatever they could find and reported that the ship was unable to be removed, and then just sort of got iced over. But then eventually, like, it broke out of the ice, and it was just, like,
floating around.
Yeah, it was just floating around. It was literally floating around for like 60 years.
That's insane.
And like people would encounter it, but they're like, oh, we don't want to waste time going up to this ship. And they like it would just be like spotted all over the place.
Wow.
And then I think eventually it like beached itself.
That's so spooky, dude.
Yeah.
That's the quintessential ghost story or ghost ship is just it's out there and we know it's out there.
Yeah.
But I mean we got no reason to to cross
to stop it.
Yeah.
It knows we're here. It's a cold war between our small coastal town and the ghost ship.
Yeah.
All right, are you ready?
Yes, welcome to the Urban Legends corner of our podcast.
What urban legend have you brought us this week?
Today,
Mongoloid?
I decided that I would be going for a more classical urban legend. We're going to knock out some of the big names here, and starting
big boys.
Right from the get-go, we're going to go with Bloody Mary.
Oh,
yeah.
Yes,
that was my idea.
Because everyone at some point either did or watched some other kid, look in the mirror.
I've tried it before.
Yeah.
When I was like 7.
I think that's like a standard sleepover thing, right?
Probably.
I never did Bloody Mary. I did Biggie Smalls.
Shut up. Turd.
Honestly, for a second, I thought you were referring to the tomato juice and vodka beverage.
There's a what?
It is an urban legend.
Bloody Mary.
Ah.
I thought you meant Biggie Smalls. I was like, what?
Hangovers.
That would be an interesting thing to do, is to start referring to Bloody Marys as Biggie Smalls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You if you do Biggie Smalls, Biggie doesn't come. P. Diddy comes.
Yeah.
And he kills you.
Mystery solved.
Yep.
Now Diddy's going to come after this podcast.
He stings you to death.
I don't get it.
Our podcast is sponsored by
not
the vodka that he sells, but I can't remember the name.
Absolute? Is that it?
No.
Ugh.
I don't think it's Absolute. You know what? It would have been a funnier joke if I knew the name. All right.
Yeah.
Ciroc.
Punch us. It's Ciroc. Yeah, it is Ciroc.
It would have had less lawsuit chances, though, had you not remembered the name.
Yeah. Well, all right.
Yeah.
So,
Diddy's going to crush us with his pinky ring.
Yep.
oh my goodness.
All right, go ahead.
Bloody Mary is a folklore legend consisting of a ghost, phantom, or spirit.
Okay.
Conjured to reveal the future. I never knew that part.
To reveal the future?
Okay, yeah. So, like, and I was noticing this when looking it up. It changed over time. Whenever mirrors were first invented, people were like, what is that?
It's just their unibrow.
Yeah.
It's me.
Oh, no, it's ghastly. But, and they would try the whole conjuring Bloody Mary thing. It was to have her almost like a pact with a demon tell you something vague and awful about your future. Which, I mean, if I'm hopeful at all for my future, I'm not going to want to ask Bloody Mary because, I mean...
It's going to be a cursed future now.
Wow.
Yeah, I know, right?
That is
what is that?
The biggest motorcycle fart I've ever heard.
It is a motorcycle.
Oh, I thought you triggered a sound effect.
It's a ghoster cycle.
Yeah, that's our soundboard.
I was really impressed. Like, wow, that is...
Oh, my lord.
But she is said to appear in a mirror when her name is chanted repeatedly. The Bloody Mary apparition may be benign or malevolent, depending on historic variations of the legend.
I thought she was always malevolent. I didn't realize that she was.
Well,
she could be
I'm
neutral.
assuming that this goes along with the whole tell you something about your future thing.
I mean,
like if you're
like maybe back in the day she was just really gruff and she's.
Would the benevolent one be like the patron saint of like blood transfusions?
Wait, malevolent or benevolent? Malevolent.
But I'm saying, like...
Maleficent.
The benevolent version.
Was there ever a non-malevolent option?
I mean,
was it just like...
it's kind of like neutral, so that's as close to benevolent as you're getting.
Like, she just show up and like, sup, guys?
How's that? You're doing great,
Hey.
girl. Keep on slaying.
Drinks on me.
Everybody seen Leprechaun?
Guys, don't just leave the celery in the glass. You can eat the celery.
Gross.
It's pickles now.
Wisdom. Historically, the ritual encouraged young women to walk right up a flight of stairs backwards, holding a candle and a hand mirror inside a darkened house.
That's scary.
Yeah.
That's way
that's
scarier
like way
than
worse
than a
than just being
bathroom
like
mirror.
And will she be at the top of the stairs whenever they're done?
She
Exactly.
pushes you.
Oh.
As they gazed into the mirror, they were supposed to be able to catch a view of their future husband's face.
Whoa.
There was, however, a chance they would see a skull or the face of the Grim Reaper instead, indicating they were destined to die before they would have a chance to marry.
Sad.
In the ritual of today, Bloody Mary allegedly appears to individuals or groups who ritualistically invoke her name in an act of catropamancy.
Catropancy?
Catopromancy. Catopromancy. I
Sure.
should just... This is done by repeatedly chanting her name in a mirror placed in a dimly lit or candle-lit room. In some traditions, the name must be repeated 13 times.
That's boring. It gets
or
boring.
some other specific number. I always thought it was
Too
3.
many.
Was
I thought it was 3.
Maybe that's why it never...
That's probably why it doesn't work.
Yeah, maybe that's why it doesn't work.
We've
You only say
gotten
3.
lazy.
Yeah.
We took all the ceremony out of it, so that's why Bloody Mary.
Yeah, she
Everybody's
never
gotten
shows
too
up.
lazy over the years.
But also, with the thing with the seeing your future husband, what if you didn't see your future husband, it was because you were gay?
Yeah, I was thinking about that. What if you're a lesbian?
You never marry.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm dead. You don't see anything.
It's just it's an occult gaydar.
You just see your best girlfriend, and they're like,
It's like, what? It's like, Cindy,
what'd
Cindy,
you see
get
in
out
the
of
mirror?
Get out of the mirror, Cindy. It's like, what?
It's a skull.
I wasn't up there. Darla. What do you mean? By the way, do you like cats?
oh my lord.
They take the legend very seriously, and there was one instance of a man robbing the house, and the woman saw him. They married the next day.
That's
Okay, all right.
The current Bloody Mary apparition allegedly appears as a corpse, a witch, or a ghost, and can be friendly or evil, and is sometimes seen covered in blood. I feel like that's just borrowing from Carrie, but whatever.
Yeah.
The lore surrounding the ritual states that the participants may endure the apparition screaming at them, cursing them, strangling them, stealing their soul, drinking their blood, or scratching their eyes out.
Oh my lord.
The modern legend of Hanako-san in Japan strongly parallels the Bloody Mary mythology. If I recall, Hanako is the... Yeah, it's the urban legend. I'll touch on that another day. But it's the girl that haunts the bathroom.
Oh.
Yeah.
Moaning
Is
Myrtle.
that why I always get freaked out in the bathroom?
The very short version. Yeah. Every time I go in there, I just scream.
Japan has like a weird obsession with like horror in bathrooms.
They do.
Really?
Because like Silent Hill always has a weird bathroom gimmick.
Yeah.
Weird.
And then Resident Evil, you have to like unplug the tub in the bathroom and the zombie comes out. Like there's a lot of a toilet horror.
I don't like it.
But like Japanese ghosts in general are just very strange, like all the spirits and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like there's the one where it's like this hideous ghost lady will show up on a bridge, and you have to tell her that she looks average. Like if you tell her she looks pretty, she kills you, and if you tell her she looks ugly, she kills you.
So you just say, you look.
Yeah,
fine.
you have to you have to say like you look like I guess the equivalent of average. It's like
you look okay.
You're all right. Like I don't know. She goes up and is like, "How do I look?" And you're like, "You're all right." And she's like, "Thanks."
That was adapted for the. It was only recently made popular, like within the last decade. But it's like they even have like at least 2 movies out over there about a woman whose mouth is like cut. She's like slit super far up her cheeks, and like that's the thing is that because it's popular to wear the medical masks over in Japan, and so it will be a girl approaches you wearing a medical mask, and she says, "Do I have a pretty smile?" And she removes it, and if you say yes, she like cuts your mouth in the same way and kills you, and if you say no, she just strangles you.
That's also
it's all right.
That's also a common theme because there's a Mexican urban legend of like the donkey lady.
Yeah.
Where like you'll see like I think it's like a woman crying on a road or something like that.
But really, she's a donkey?
Yeah, you walk up to her and like you're like, "Are you okay, ma'am?" And she turns around and she has like a donkey face, and then you die of fright.
Yeah.
So, oh wow.
So why is it there all these like hideous ghosts that want to hurt like decent people?
Like maybe they're not ghosts. Maybe they're demons, and they just want to like.
I suppose.
Just want to mess with you.
They intentionally lure in the righteous.
I don't know.
Like, oh, you're checking on.
Is it by chance?
What are you doing in the middle of the desert?
What if it's a serial killer running away and then he comes upon,
Yeah, but
you were very beautiful.
They'd be more likely to like run. They wouldn't. I don't suspect a serial killer would.
Well, I guess help a woman crying.
But then again, serial killers are known to be like super regular.
Yeah.
When they're not murdering.
When they're not murdering, they're super regular.
Well, yeah, I mean, like their spouses never know because they're like totally normal.
Yeah.
And they raise their kids really well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just as long as you don't go into my toy shop. I make toys, but they don't tell them that it's made of skin.
Yep.
So I don't know.
Yep.
This football feels funny.
It's made of pig skin.
Why does it have a nipple on it?
Oh no, that's where you air it up, and he just jams the air thing just to cover it.
Yeah.
All right.
A modern edition of taunting Bloody Mary, which that's just kids these days.
Yeah, you got to up the game,
right?
Punk children.
They taunt her regarding her baby and indicating the legendary figure's conflation with the historic figure Queen Mary I, also known as Bloody Mary, whose life was marked by a number of miscarriages and is remembered for her violent religious reforms. Now, I was going to take like a quick second to be like, okay, so who are these Marys? Some of them are like famous. I mean, well, they're all famous historically, but it's none of them really tie. Like, there's no evidence of like
Mary
anybody
Olsen?
ever.
Mary Kate
it was
Olsen?
two different things, and
Guess
as
not.
much as everybody wants to say it's the case, it's not. It's it was just something. Originally, it was like it's a witch. The witch will tell you your future. But everybody's like, nuh-uh, it's based off of Mary Tudor, which is...
I've heard of this woman.
Yeah.
She sounds
Bloody
familiar.
Mary came from a slight mix-up from history. Mary I, or also known as Mary Tudor. That's who we just spoke about. Then there was Mary Worth. She lived in Chicago around the time of the Civil War. She used to catch runaway slaves and keep them chained up in her barn, and she would use them in
That's
diabolical
horrible.
black magic ritual stuff.
Oh, my Lord.
Wow.
You could do an entire episode just on her.
So
But,
was that a double entendre with black magic?
No, we don't do that here. Nope.
Mary Worthington. In the 1960s, there was a beautiful girl named Mary Worthington who was very vain. She loved to look at her reflection in the mirror. One day, she was involved in a terrible car accident, and her face was horribly disfigured. No one could bear to look at her. She couldn't even stand to look at herself.
Scraped off.
Like I said, these are all just Mary Wells, Elizabeth Barney, who's not even
So it
Mary.
could be any woman who tragically died who was named
If your
Mary.
name is Mary,
Which is probably higher than average.
it's
there are
probably
a lot of Marys.
Yeah.
But so they explain the phenomenon, because there's a feeling people get, when they lock themselves in the bathroom and somehow manage it
Stuck in
13
there with all those
times.
farts.
You feel a pinch on your
Staring
butt.
into a dimly lit mirror for a prolonged period of time can cause one to hallucinate. Facial features may appear to melt, distort, disappear, and rotate, while other hallucinatory effects, such as animals or strange faces, may appear. Giovanni Caputo of the University of Urbino writes the phenomenon which he calls the strange face illusion. It is believed to be a consequence of dissociative identity effect, which causes the brain's facial recognition system to misfire in currently unidentified ways. Other possible explanations for the phenomenon include illusions attributed at least partially to the perpetual effects of Troxler's fading and possible self-hypnosis.
Wow, okay.
Oh.
Troxler's fading. What's that, you say?
I already know.
Yeah.
But just tell everyone else. Because
Yeah.
It's an optical
These guys
illusion.
don't
It's
know.
the same thing as how they have the tiny rows of white boxes and there's like a black box and it'll look like the black box is moving. Yeah, it's just that kind of a
Okay.
yeah.
Weird
And then
eye
there's
stuff.
like, Bloody Mary in pop culture, which, I first picked up on and the reason why this segment even exists on this podcast because there was the 1997 movie Urban Legend.
Oh, yeah.
And Bloody Mary was one of the acted out. It was just a slasher film, and it was all based off of classic urban legends. But yeah, so
we should watch that.
Yeah, we should.
I gotta say, I was really hoping there would have been like a crazy story, but it sounds like this is like the first like creepy pasta thing, like back before internet. It's just it's one of those strange things that children just do, like the weird S thing.
Right.
The S thing that we all draw. We don't know what it means.
Yeah, there's just some sort of subtle, I don't know, influence amongst the youth where it just propagates for no explainable reason.
Right.
It's just a thing.
Yeah.
Which is, I don't know, that's almost creepier than the stories. It's like how is it kids across the world know about this Bloody Mary thing. Yeah. Also with the mirror thing, I don't know when the last time it was you guys were just in a dark bathroom looking at the mirror with like the light, but I would say it's probably just like flickering candlelight, which
can like play tricks on your sight.
Yeah, I mean there's a lot of just weird.
Oh my lord, I don't know what is happening out there.
Well, you see, Bloody Mary. We've said Bloody Mary.
We've already said it 13 times.
And she's currently sawing her way into the house.
into the through the brick.
Oh yeah. I mean, we do have burglar bars on the windows, so
she's sawing those off, dude.
You've Mary-proofed her home.
Mary-proofed.
She'll be out there for days.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks for that.
That's sometimes awesome. As I'm starting to learn, the fact is a lot less interesting than fiction.
That's true.
But you know what? I'll soon be doing like a 2-parter or a 3-parter on a certain hairy traveler of the woods here in America, because what I've come to find in my studies of the Sasquatch is that not only are there people that will swear and die by it, it's the most blurred line that we have as far as urban legends go. So
keep a lookout for that
3-parter between his big old toes.
Speaking of that, do you guys want to play a game?
I would love to. Do you want to play a game?
As a teaser to our dear friend McAnally's Bigfoot.
Did y'all do that on purpose?
Totally intentional.
I think we might have talked to like.
I think you mentioned Sasquatch once before.
Yeah,
and we were kind of like
only once.
This is just going to be, as I'm sure you guys know, Sasquatch is a worldwide phenomenon.
Oh yeah.
Oh, is it?
Oh yeah.
We're not just the lucky ones.
He shows up everywhere, but he has a different name everywhere he is, and so I'm going to go through a few names, and I want you guys to collectively decide if this is Bigfoot or horse crap.
Bigfoot or big crap.
Yeah. So there you go. That'll be the answer.
We'll workshop it. Yeah.
Okay. So I'll give you guys an easy one first. So the Yeti.
Yes.
Okay.
Although I almost want to argue that it could be 2 different instances.
It could be, but
I thought a Yeti had like white fur and like lived in the Arctic.
But then again, humans have different colored fur.
Okay.
So I mean, it's plausible.
That's true.
All right. Green Pete.
Yes, I want to say yes because I feel like I've heard this before.
Yeah, Green Pete.
Green Pete. I'm gonna say no. It sounds too much like the Green Giant on the Jolly Green Giant.
Oh no!
Our associate Chris is right.
Is that the name of the Green Giant?
I don't think so.
No, I mean that'd be funny, but no. All right, so Yowie.
What?
No. No.
At least not in the language I know. But
yeah, me and Mac have a different
what does that mean?
It's creepy Japanese boy-on-boy love comics.
Ew, gross.
Yeah. Which would be much more hilarious because that is the Australian Bigfoot.
What? No way.
See, that's the thing. I was like, if it's a different language.
At least according to the website I looked at,
is that what the Aborigines call it, or is that?
I didn't read too much into it. I just grabbed the names.
Okay.
An Australian man was picked up by him. And he goes, Yowie.
All right.
He's a biggin.
All right.
He's a biggin.
What are you going to do, squish me with your toes?
How big is he?
Also, how do you get to Australia?
He must have gotten stuck there.
Ancient land bridge.
Yeah, he's like the marsupial Bigfoot. He might have a pouch.
He has a pouch.
Okay.
One of the big feet laid an egg in a plant, and that plant was taken to Australia.
I see.
And then,
it's like the lizards and the bananas
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, I got
It's stowed away with the white folk that I said. So,
Okay, cool.
all right.
but side note, Yowie Yowie would be a hilarious subgenre.
Yowie.
No.
It's like,
Lord.
Sasquatch boy love.
Yeah.
All right, Jadena.
I don't know.
Jadena.
I'm going to say safe bet no.
I'll say yeah. Sure.
I'll say yes.
Okay, Jadena is actually a musician
In what language?
in English.
And yes.
Yes,
What?
He did one of the songs on Luke Cage.
Oh.
Oh.
I knew I saw the name
okay,
Yeah,
okay.
He's a rapper type fellow.
Oh, okay.
The Skunk
racist.
Ape.
Yes. This is absolutely correct.
Wow.
You said the
Okay.
Scott
I'm going
ape?
to say no.
The
No, I'm just
skunk,
kidding.
the skunk ape.
Skunk ape? Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so that is the Bigfoot of Florida, known for
What?
Yeah, known for living in the Everglades, being covered in moss and smelling to high hell
Yeah.
because of the swamp.
Wow.
See, that's why nobody can catch them, because they get close. Even if they trank them, they just and they pass out.
It's
not worth it.
And they drown in the Everglades.
Oh, no.
All right, the next one, Bogwai.
Bogwai.
Yes.
Yes. I think
Wait,
that, yeah.
but it might not be Sasquatch.
Wait,
but
no,
I'll,
no,
I'll
no.
just say yes.
Are you thinking Bhagwan?
No. I think this is... No, this is incorrect. I'm going to call BS on this. I know
I
what
say,
this is. I know
it's
what
it's
this
something mythical, so I'm just gonna say yes to Sasquatch.
I'm going with
but-
my husband. I say no.
Okay, yeah, it is not a Bigfoot. I just took Mogwai from Gremlins
Mogwai.
and changed the letter.
Wow.
I was like, wait a second.
Oh, my Lord.
Yeah, I was like, oh yeah, it's a Chinese Yeti. And I was like, wait a second. No, that's just that racist Chinese guy from Gremlins.
Oh man.
All right. The Yeren.
No. I don't believe anything anymore.
Just the year in review. He just took out review. It's the year in review.
I'm gonna say
I'm
yes.
gonna say no.
I'm going to say no.
Popular vote no.
The Yeren is the Chinese Yeti.
Oh,
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tip-
All right.
if,
Okay.
If my knowledge is still correct, I believe it is known for having red hair.
Wow.
Weird. Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
And a yellow star.
All right. The next one.
Flag.
The, fl-
The
the
next one.
flag.
Bob Chandler.
Bob Chandler. Yes.
Are you
I'm
serious?
gonna say yes to this one.
What?
Yes.
Look, if
What?
if the skunk ape is a Florida Bigfoot, I'm gonna believe the Bob Chandler.
Yeah, sure.
No.
I can believe people have
This is
seen stuff
ridiculous.
and then like named it.
Maybe he named himself.
This one's a trick question. He's the guy who made the Bigfoot monster truck.
Okay.
Oh,
okay.
Lord.
That's funny.
You fools
Wow.
fell for it.
All right. All right. Champ.
Champ?
Yes.
Canadian Bigfoot much?
Yes.
It sounds like a local legend
Champ, eh?
or
Yeah,
local
exactly.
champion
Like,
type thing.
He was the best hockey player,
There was a burning building,
but he
in
couldn't
Old
control
Town,
the excessive
Missouri
hair
or
growth. So
whatever.
eventually, like he still wears his outfit, but the hair's grown around it, so it's just like stuck on him. He went into the forest of. Go ahead.
It grows out the little holes that are in the jersey.
He saved a bunch of orphans from a burning building and then disappeared into the forest.
Also, this one is also a trick question because Champ is actually the North American Loch Ness monster of Lake Champlain.
Really?
What?
Oh.
Interesting.
Oh.
Okay.
I didn't know
Okay.
we had a Loch Ness monster.
Yeah.
Well, we do.
Lake Champlain. Good old Champ.
Champlain. I've heard of that. Yeah.
Okay. Rosechov.
Rosechov?
Rosechov.
Yes.
No.
Yes. It sounds vaguely
You're gonna say it's
Eastern
the
European.
Russian one.
I goofed you again. That is not a Bigfoot. It's just something I made up while sitting on the couch. Okay. So this will be the last one.
Okay.
Okay.
The Grassman.
Yes.
Oh man.
I'm going to say yes. The Grassman sounds like vague enough
Yeah.
that they
Yeah.
they don't know exactly what it is, so they just call it that.
Yeah, it is the Bigfoot of Ohio.
Wow.
And I believe
Wow.
parts of Pennsylvania.
All right.
Okay, yeah.
The
Grass.
name is as vague and boring as Ohio and
Yeah.
parts of Pennsylvania.
Wow.
If it's literally like a grassy Sasquatch, they could have called it the marsh squatch. Why did they
Marsh squatch? I don't think there's marsh up there, though, right? That's like near the Great Lakes.
Yeah, I think it's just like grassy fields, I guess. I didn't read too much about it. I just noted that Ohio and Pennsylvania apparently have to have their own special name for the
That's interesting.
for Bigfoot.
Yeah.
We ain't got no Sasquatch. We got the grass man.
Where was the original? Where was the iconic Bigfoot footage taken?
My father was born in 1969.
I thought it was like Montana or something. It was in a wooded area.
Yeah. Okay.
But I don't remember 100%. I just remember that it was not like a super wet region.
Yeah.
It seemed like it was sort of like one of those dry foresty areas.
Yeah. Okay.
But
all right. Yeah.
Sweet.
That was fun.
I'll leave that tidbit of information for Mac's full expose
next time.
That's awesome.
Okay.
Sweet.
I hope you guys enjoyed the game.
Yeah,
All
was
right.
awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome, man.
Yeah,
you need
man.
to come back every few episodes when you're in town and give us some more trivs.
Yeah,
Some more quiz.
I'll try to find some other. I might do the next one on different types of ghosts.
Sweet.
Ooh.
Okay.
And
right.
we'll decide whether it's a real ghost or something from a fantasy game.
Okay. All right.
Though, in my research, I might find that they just ripped off all their names from real ghosts.
That's
Yeah.
probably what it is.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
I will figure something out.
Today I brought with me 13 spirits. We're going to tell which ones are personalities I have made up and which ones are actually possessing me.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So I'm gonna wrap this up. I'm gonna read a few different listener stories.
Sick.
This one is from Mitch. Here we go. All right. They say, I have a very fun haunted doll story for y'all. For a little backstory, my grandma, whom I love dearly, collected porcelain dolls for a period of time.
Oh,
And at one point...
You should have seen Ashley's porcelain doll collection.
Okay, look, it was the same thing. My granny dad would give me porcelain dolls, and she gave them to my sister too, just for like no
Wait,
reason.
Do you still have them, or did you?
Yes, they're at my parents' house.
Okay, so
Yeah,
so
they're
you're
in my mom's
safely away.
I'm away from them. If we had a bigger house, well, I didn't take them into our first apartment when we got married because like Chris didn't want them in the house.
Yeah,
I don't
that is
know.
accurate.
So yeah,
We just try and give them back, but for some reason they just keep showing up.
Who keeps
Speaking
posing
of
them in
showing
the yard
up.
pointing at us?
okay.
They beheaded the lawn gnome. Poor
All
Jerry.
right. So she collected porcelain dolls for a period of time, and at one point started giving her children porcelain dolls that had a likeness to her grandchildren.
That's so creepy.
Or in the case of my parents, what she thought they would look like, since my sibling and I weren't born yet.
Oh, that's awful.
That's
Yes,
hilarious.
mine has green eyes. The doll has brown eyes. Close enough, right? We've had these dolls for decades now, and for the past 5 years, they've lived in the attic. One day, though, our dolls appeared in our respective rooms on our bookshelves. I've asked my family, and everyone says they don't know how they got there. Now, here's the kicker. About 2 weeks after that, my sibling somehow injured their foot at work. The same day, the same foot on their doll broke off mysteriously. This could all be a cool prank, or my grandma somehow bound our souls to dolls via some spooky satanic magic. Hopefully,
I would
this
definitely
unsolved
do that
mystery.
as a prank.
Yeah, you
If
think
I
so?
gave people creepy porcelain
Yeah.
dolls, I'd be like.
If you had
playing it up.
access to their house, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. She said, or they said, hopefully this unsolved story gives y'all some shivers.
The dolls
Thanks, Mitch.
originally come blank with no hair and no facial features, and the grandmother will put her thumbs over the eyes and go, and then the facial her hair will turn grayer, and then she's like, "This is the future child.
If you don't bear this child, it's not yours. It's a changeling.
It's a changeling.
A homunculus."
All right. Okay. So here's another story I have for y'all. So this is a story actually from my dad, and it's really awesome. And I got to hear it. He told us last weekend this story when we were over for my birthday lunch.
Person.
But then he sent over a little thing. Oh, Chubbs.
He sent over the unredacted version of the story.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right,
He doesn't
so,
hold back in this version.
Here we go. Granny lived in a big old farmhouse in Rio Vista, Texas, built in the early 1900s. No driveways, just a dirt area where you could park out front. It had a large old wooden shed for outside things with a lean-to on the side to park her car. She had a large chicken coop where she kept a dozen chickens or so to get eggs from. Out back, she had a large vegetable garden. She also had her clothes lined to dry. I don't know. She had her clothes lined to dry her clothes. There we go. The house was all wood and whitewashed. It had a large screen porch in the front. Inside, it had everything any other house had, except bigger. I remember the rooms being quite large. All the doorknobs were the old-fashioned glass ones. There was a washroom that actually had the old washboard and rollers with handles.
That's crazy.
In the back of the house was the bedrooms. Now, Granny had a bedroom in the front of the house, but for everyone else, there were 2 bedrooms in the back. There was a living room there, too. I was a little kid, elementary school aged, when I would visit. I remembered that when I walked around with my parents or Granny, everything was normal, and I felt happy. But I vividly remember that if I walked around in the house alone, especially in the bedrooms in the back, that I would feel like I was being watched. I felt like I wasn't alone. I never in my young life ever felt like that before, not anywhere. At first, it made me feel really uncomfortable, but as time went by and more visits later, I went from feeling uncomfortable to feeling scared. I mean, it was like I knew there was something there. There was a clock on the wall in one of the bedrooms. It was an owl with big eyes that would shift from side to side with each ticking minute,
nice.
Which is horrible. That made me scared too, but a different scared. Like, I just didn't like what it looked like, so it was spooky to me. The other was a strong feeling of something is not good here. Something wants to get at me. Well, I would come to visit Granny every now and then, but I never let my parents have me spend the night by myself. Never. I always told them I would only stay if they stayed too, and they thought it was because I didn't feel comfortable with staying with Granny by myself, but I loved spending time with my Granny. That wasn't it. It was because I knew if I had to sleep in one of those back bedrooms alone, there would be nothing stopping whatever that thing was from watching me or doing whatever it wanted to me. So I would spend the night at Granny's, usually with my dad. He would always make me sleep by myself in the furthest back bedroom. It was the smallest one, and the floors were all boards and had it had an old iron frame bed with a big quilt on it. The bed was almost the size of the room, allowing just a little room to walk next to it. The walls were wood boards. Man, that's a lot of wood.
Yeah.
I would beg my dad not to make me sleep in that bedroom alone and to let me sleep with him in the next bedroom. I knew that threw my dad off, and he didn't understand why I would act like that. I never did that before. He asked me why I'm acting like that, and I told him because I felt scared there by myself, but he insisted that I sleep in that room. Dad was always about the rules and making me a man. That's true.
Yeah.
So I figured he wanted me to sleep alone in that room because either it was a rule that I had to sleep in my own bed, or he didn't want me to act like a baby. So I did it. Growing up, my parents always turned all the lights off when going to bed. My Granny was no exception, so I was laying in that bed one particular time. So I was laying in that bed with all the lights off. You couldn't see anything. I remember thinking to myself that old saying, you can't see your hand in front of your face. So I put my hand an inch in front of my eyes, and I couldn't see it. I concentrated my eyes hard on my hand, and finally I can barely make out the outline of my hand. While doing that, I shifted my eyes slightly from my hand to the side of my bed, and I saw the outline of a body. So I threw the big quilt over my head. I just laid there still, telling myself there was nothing there. I thought I would just keep my eyes closed and stay under the blankets, just go to sleep and wake up in the morning. Everything will be okay. And then as I tried to fall asleep, I could hear the floorboards around my bed creaking. I could truly feel something was there. Then I heard faint whispers. So I jumped up and ran to my dad's bed. I leapt in my dad's bed, yelling at my dad, "There's something in that room. I have to sleep with you. I won't go back. I won't sleep in that room." So Dad looked at me like he was trying to figure out what I was saying. Then he just said, "Okay," and rolled over and went back to sleep. I laid there on my back with my shoulder buried against my dad. I had my eyes closed, trying to fall asleep. Everything was going to be okay now. I'm next to my dad. And then I felt that feeling again, like there was something in the darkness. I thought, no, nothing is there. I'm sleeping with my dad. Nothing would get me now. Then as I was laying on the edge of the bed, I heard very clearly, like something was an inch from my ear, "I'm right here," which is horror. Freaking, oh my lord. I suddenly was an absolute horror. I turned and screamed, and I screamed in my dad's ear, "Wake up!" I was shaking him with everything I had. My dad raised up, turned on the light, and looked at me. He was so angry. I was in tears, like horrified. I said something was in here, and it's after me. And he said, "You're having a nightmare." I said, "No, I was awake, and it talked to me." Mm-hmm. Normally, my dad would have done who knows what to me, especially after what all I was doing. So when my dad was telling us the story, he was talking about how, like, Papa, when they would get out of line, he would, like, get his belt out. Like, like, there's no, like, you follow the rules or you get beat. Like, that's it. Yeah. Like, those are your two options.
Nice.
So, but after seeing my face and hearing what I said, it was almost as if he believed me or he knew something I didn't. He got up, walked around the room, looking all over. Once he felt like everything was okay, he got back in bed. He said, "There's nothing there." I told him it only comes after me and in the dark. He said I had nothing to worry about and he would keep an eye on me. He grabbed me tight and he wrapped his arms around me. He said, "I got you." I put the blanket over my head, buried my face in his chest, and went to sleep. After that night, I never spent the night at my granny's again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. That is insane.
Yeah, that's super creepy.
That's he was like telling us a story, and he was like, seriously, I was wide awake, and it was right in my ear.
Yeah.
Like, it was right here. It's freaking insane. Oh my goodness. Okay. Let's do we have a time for one more or two more?
We got time for one more.
One more? Okay. Yes, let's do this one.
Here.
All right. So here we go. This person is going to remain anonymous. Here we go.
It's me.
All right. So, April 21st, 2018, 4:50 a.m. While sleeping, I had a weird feeling someone was in my room. I woke up to see a girl 3 feet from the edge of my bed.
Whoa.
It seemed as though she was looking at the lit candle upon my dresser. At first sight, I was afraid. I thought it was sleep paralysis, but this time felt different. My muscles weren't locked up, nor was I stuck laying down. I'm sitting all the way up and looking at this girl with so many questions. My tired eyes are shifting outlines and color tones, but this girl I can see plain as day. I'm certain this is a person. I dare not look away, and I want to remember every single second of this. She looked to be Caucasian, around the age of 18, with medium brown hair and a long ponytail. She was wearing a tan-colored gown, which came down as far as I could see. The edge of the bed blocked my view after her knees. Her face looked very soft, but at this angle I could not see her eyes. As I gazed at her, my fear vanished to nothing, and soon I felt calmness come from me and the entire room. I'm sorry, I read that wrong. And I felt calmness come across me in the entire room.
Wow.
I touched my blankets with my right hand and remembered my wife laying next to me. But if I tried to wake her, this girl would leave. I'm sure of it. I felt the longer this moment lasted, the more likely it's real. Who was she? Where did she come from? If this were a break-in, my house alarm would have sounded. I went to speak to her, but if I say something, I might create a moment I wish I hadn't. She's locked in my sight for at least 20 seconds, but as my eyes strain to focus, she begins to fade. She never moves an inch, but I leaned a foot forward in my last attempt to prove my reality. My heart pounds in my chest as she vanishes. The fear sets back in. I literally sat there for 40 minutes to prove to myself I'm not asleep. I looked at the clock and every corner of my room over and over. Should I look for her in my home? If I see her outside my door, will she lead me somewhere? I'll never know, but I'm sure this isn't my last strange event.
Oh.
That ghost coming to steal her man. Ghost girlfriend.
Yeah, it's crazy. He went on to say, like, he's experienced stuff like that before. Like, when he was younger, he experienced a lot of stuff like that. But
so he really does have a ghost girlfriend.
Maybe. I don't know.
I'm in love with my ghost girlfriend.
Oh God.
Yeah,
it's a YouTube
reference.
series.
Oh.
I get the reference.
It is. Yeah.
I
don't know.
So before we wrap things up, Izzy, do you have any paranormal or spooky old tales from the back and back.
You know, as much as I'm sure you guys would expect me to have something, there's almost like a paranormal dead zone around me.
That does not surprise me.
As there is
you're very
Curse you, logic!
The worst thing that I could even equate to a semi-almost ghost story is after watching the movie Signs. I was trying to... I don't remember if I was trying to go to sleep or I was just sitting in my room at night. And I used to live on a farm-esque homestead. Mm-hmm. And so there's a lot of like spooky tall grass and stuff.
Yeah.
But the worst thing is the June bugs that would fly into the windows.
Yeah.
So, you know, your room would be well lit, but it'd be almost pitch black outside.
Yeah.
Just from the nature of the light versus dark kind of thing.
Yeah.
And you just have your back turned and you hear stuff
like tapping on the window.
Yeah, clacking into the windows. And you look out and there's nothing there.
Yeah.
But, you know, intellectually you know it's June bugs.
Yeah.
But
there's no proof.
There's that crippling thing. It's like there could be something in that tall grass.
Yeah.
It's the grass man.
Signs is a really
grass
good
man.
movie.
Came all the way from Ohio.
Cool.
Yeah, that's the closest thing. Other than that, you know, you hear strange sounds outside, but nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm sort of a nexus for non-paranormal stuff.
Yeah.
It's just things don't really happen around me.
That's all right.
No, I don't have any cool stories.
You still like cryptozoology, which I think is really cool.
I mean...
And you're still on So Anyway It's Haunted, so that means something.
Yeah, well...
Maybe a ghost ship will haunt you for the rest of your life. Every single type of water, you're like a bathtub or like a sink, there's a tiny ship in there.
This is the city of Topeka.
Cool. All right. Well, thank y'all for joining me. Thank you, listeners, for listening in, as Karen Chu would say on Good Job, Brian.
Yeah, good job, Brian.
Good job, Brian.
Good job, Brian.
Our favorite
person.
Our favorite other podcast. Anyway,
Brian
check
will
us
be the
out.
next guest star on the show.
Yeah, I'm sure.
He'll
tell us about that one story where he punched the never mind.
I punched a wall.
Let him tell it for himself.
I punched a wall once, guys, and I thought we got away with it, but we didn't.
But we didn't.
But we didn't.
But we did.
Our favorite Cockney little newspaper sales boy. Good job, Brian.
There was the one time where we got all militant for some people who were wandering around in the woods. Or in
And
the
then
grass.
that's the one he broke his arm. Okay, so what?
What?
We all know Brian's stories.
Yeah, let's not rake him over the coals. Let's just wait till he gets here. We'll do it to his face.
Dang.
Anyway, find us on Instagram. Find us. We have a group page on Facebook. You're welcome to join and tell your spooky stories. Email your spooky stories if you want them read. Even if you want to be anonymous, email them in. anywayitshaunted@gmail.com. Be looking out for a Patreon page. We'll tell you more info about that when we have it. Stay spooky.
Yes.
Keep it creepy.
And don't die.
Don't die. Is that like our My Favorite Murder outro? Stay spooky, keep it creepy, and don't die.
I don't know.
And if you don't feel like emailing or instant messaging, just divinate it to me.
Yeah.
Directly.
Just think really hard.
Think really hard.
Buy some crystals.
Especially
I don't
when,
carry copper on me, so we're good.
No,
when Mac looks longingly into the woods outside his home, that's the best time.
Yeah.
That's when he's most
That's
into.
my email. I look out there and like it's just a ghost of a mailman. He's
Just
like,
a bunch of spam.
Story. The witches just have a large poster board.
It's a dry erase. Just
Dave from Topeka saw a ship once.
I wanted to tell you, you're beautiful.
Oh.
I'm not coming out there. Roll it down and walk away.
Anyway, cool.
Stay spooky.
Stay spooky. Thank you, Izzy, for joining us.
I really appreciate you guys letting me show up.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
see.
Yeah, man.
We'll see you again.
I hope this goes up on.
It won't. Scrapping this.
Second Lops episode.
Anyway,
They're all going to be lost episodes.
you want to do that weird theremin thing? Later, spooks.
Bye, guys.